Hey, welcome. Thanks for checking out my video. Today I was finishing up my little plein air painting that I did a little while ago right on the banks of the Broadhead Creek, and I put some finishing touches on it in studio. And I was thinking while I was in studio here that I'm really grateful that I stumbled upon the method by which I built this inexpensive, lightweight, versatile pallet box that I use out in the field when I'm painting. And I thought even further, it might be helpful to share how I went about building that with roughly 5 components, no power tools, in less than 2 hours, and at the cost of less than $50. So if you're like me and you're living on a budget and you really like those fancy pochade boxes and pallet boxes that are available, but just aren't sure if you want to lay out that amount of money, you can go ahead and follow along and build your own pallet box, and hopefully you'll find as much enjoyment out of it as I have for the past couple of months that I've been using it. So I'll show you the process, just follow along, and let me know if you have any questions along the way. So one of the key components of this project associated with building a lightweight plein air pallet box are ready-made cradled wood panels. I have these 2 cradled wood panels that are 11 by 16, which I'm going to use, a sheet of birch plywood, and the rest of the components that I'll lay out here, which will also include some tension hinges, which I bought online. Relatively inexpensive cost. I'll use 3 of them. They come in packages of 4. These are also referred to as torque hinges as well. And they provide the resistance that keep the box closed and allow it to stay open with your substrate or canvas attached to your pallet box. Also, we need some screws. I have some smaller screws here. You could use them of varying sizes depending upon the thickness of the wood that you're using. In addition to that, here is a traditional tripod mount quick release. In this case, this happens to be a Swiss quick clamp, which I purchased online as well. This simply allows you to quickly attach and detach your lightweight pallet box from your tripod. So after a long hike and hopefully a longer painting session out in nature, you can quickly pack up and head on home when you're done. In addition to all that, you're going to want to make sure that you have on hand some wood glue, also some nice clamps. This ultimately will hold your substrate to your pallet. And in addition to that, a Phillips head screwdriver, and that's all you need. Now we're going to take one of the first big steps here, and we're going to work to find, with all of their normal imperfections, the best alignment amongst the 2 cradled wood panels that we're going to use to build our lightweight pallet box. So sometimes it's worth inspecting to see how the edges align all the way around. Occasionally, due to the millwork or imperfections in the wood, or the manufacturing process, you might find 3 out of the 4 sides align better than the other. And maybe sometimes a small adjustment, like just flipping one of the cradled wood panels one way or the other, can help bring all 4 sides in as close alignment as possible. Once you've done that, you can clamp the 2 together. You want the backside of each cradled wood panel facing each other, so it creates a little bit of a cabinet, if you will, or space inside to hold your paints and other materials that you might want to include in your pallet box. Now with these cradled wood panels fastened together temporarily with your clamps, you'll start to test out the alignment of your tension or torque hinges. You'll put one in the middle and one on either side of that same side. This is going to work almost like, let's say, a cabinet door that has similar torque hinges in place. So it'll be slow to open. It'll require a little bit of force to open it and a little bit of force to close it. And that's where the magic happens when it comes to how this lightweight pallet box works out in the field. We're going to use the factory provided screws that came with these torque hinges that I purchased online. And given that these cradled wood panels are framed with yellow pine, which is a pretty soft wood, I'm able to insert the screws by hand with ease using my Phillips head screwdriver. There might come a day where I might find the need to experiment with similar cradled wood panels produced using hardwood, and I'm curious to see if I could assemble those manually in this manner. But I could always use an inexpensive screw gun or something of that nature to assist if need be. So this will take a little bit of time. I will tell you, while I'm working through this part of the process, I've used my lightweight pallet box now for plein air painting on about, I would say, close to a dozen trips in all kinds of weather. I've painted in snow, high winds, a little bit of light rain, very cold weather, and some seasonably warm weather as well in the sunlight. I've even dropped my pallet box into the creek I was painting alongside of at one point in time. It was my fault. It was in between unpacking and setting up, and there were high winds, and I didn't think to put weights on my tripod as quickly as possible. So my pallet box went right into the water, and I was able to paint for the rest of the session with no problem at all. So it is durable, albeit it's not the same level of quality by any stretch that you'll get with some of the high-end pochade box makers and plein air box makers. You know, there are so many good products out there. They're definitely worth the money, whether it be the Gorilla product or some of the other products that are available, Gorilla Painter product, that is. And there's so many others as mentioned. But sometimes the budget just won't allow for us to spend a couple $100s to have the gear that we need. This is a great opportunity for anybody who might be starting out, or maybe who's restarting plein air painting after taking a little bit of a break, or somebody who is just curious as to whether or not they could do this on their own, on the cheap, so to speak. And I will tell you, if I can do it, you can do it as well. So without much difficulty at this point, I have all the hinges on the pochade box, or pallet box, if you will. And just a few more screws to get in just to make sure that the assembly is complete. And once we do that, we'll take a look at the actual swing of the box when I open and close it. And we might even tinker a little bit with the adjustable torque using those silver larger screws that you see toward the middle of the hinges. By tightening those and loosening those, you can dynamically adjust the torque required to open and close the doors, which is really helpful. Sometimes you'll find you do need to tighten those in order to make sure that when you have your substrate or your canvas clamped to your pallet box, that it stays upright while you're painting. Oh, there we go. Last couple screws are in. Just going to tighten them slightly. I don't want to over tight them and strip the holes within that soft yellow pine that they're screwed into. Now let's test out the assembly here. We can open up the lid and you can see, get a sense now for how it works. The tension or torque within the hinges allow that top piece to stay open even when it's a little windy or you're pushing on it with your paintbrush or palette knife. I'm going to tighten them just a little bit just to get a little bit of additional resistance, and it should be just fine. Now when we open this up, when we open up the pallet box, when you're actually using it live, it's really important to know where the top and the bottom actually is. Oftentimes I will preload the pallet itself, the bottom part, with my paints. So when I go hiking and I find a spot that I want to paint at, I can quickly start painting without having to squirt paints out of my tubes of paint. And that saves a lot of time. It's a big convenience associated with this style of pallet box. Now for this pallet box, I'm going to cut a little inlaid piece that's going to serve as a detachable pallet. And I'm going to use the scraps left from that as part of the bracing system that allow me to screw the detachable mounts for the tripod to the bottom of the pallet box as well. So I'll explain that as I go here, but I'm just going to draw some guidelines here as I prepare to cut out some pieces of this birch plywood in the effort to pull this pallet box together. And this, for the most part, is the last big step. Once I cut these pieces out and sand them, we have some assembly associated with the tripod mount. And then outside of that, we're going to be all done. We'll test it out by seeing how it fits on the tripod and how it responds to having a substrate clamped to the top end of the pallet box, but pretty much we'll be good to go. And we're at 18 minutes, and you've seen this real time, live, without any enhancements or speeding up of the video. So we're definitely going to get this done in less than 2 hours. So I'm sure if you are a little bit more handy than I am, and you're better with processes related to assembling things or carpentry work and that sort of thing, you might be able to get this done in less than 20 minutes. So it's a pretty good deal, less than $50, less than 2 hours, and you have yourself a lightweight, versatile, durable pallet box. I'm just gonna use my ruler, or any straight edge would do, to draw some guidelines for when I cut this. I am going to be cutting it by hand with traditional wood saw or hand saw, if you will. So I'm going to draw myself some guidelines, so hopefully that helps me make a straighter cut. We shall see. And I'll get these guidelines out here, and then I'll take this outside and I'll complete the cuts. Alright, so I ventured outside and I'm going to make these cuts with my handsaw to the birch plywood here. I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight. I marked out one cut here with this line, another cut here with this line, and I might cut out a little half circle or quarter circle here on the corner so I could easily lift out the removable pallet. And I'll do that with a coping saw if I choose to do that. And in addition to that, I marked out a little strip that I'll cut. So there'll be one additional cut here that'll go to full length of the board, which will be a little support strip, which I'll fix to the bottom of our pallet box here. Okay, let's go set this aside. That little cutout. right now I'm using a coping saw to cut out a little notch in the corner to make it easier for me to grab the pallet out of the pallet box when I'm out in the field. This will go across the bottom. This, and we'll screw the mounting plate into that. And we'll be good to go. Alright, we're back in the studio. I'm going to clear the clutter away here a little bit. And we're going to take the next few steps here to assemble our pallet box. Let's see here. Here's this side as the top, this side as the bottom. And the first steps I need to take is to attach this little support strip and this is what I'll use to attach my camera tripod attachment system. The base of it will go right here, and the quick release clamp, once this is fastened to the bottom of my pallet box, will attach right here. Okay, and I'll demonstrate that once we assemble everything. The longest time that the rest of this process will take will most likely be the time it takes for the glue to dry. So, there's that. I'm going to get a generous amount on there, and then I'm going to spread it out. I'm going to use a Q-tip. That way I don't waste a paintbrush. And we're just going to get this spread out as evenly as possible. Every bit of surface area to get covered in hopes that it creates a very lasting bond. I don't know if you saw, but I'm using this Gorilla wood glue can get that at your local hardware store, Ace, Home Depot, Lowe's, what have you. Probably can order it online too, but I happened to be visiting the local hardware store here and I was able to pick it up. All right. Almost completely covered here. I want to get it in those areas where I have little cracks. Side. Put that toward, just offset slightly toward the back. And that's just based upon the learnings of from my first version of this. When you put it toward the middle or toward the front, the torque from pushing on your substrate or your canvas creates an uneven force. So you want to have this toward the back, and that'll help increase the stability of the pallet box while you're painting a little bit. All right, so got that going. And put a little pressure on there just by using my hand. For this, because it's such a thin piece of wood on both ends, we're just going to put 3 or 4 of these 3/8 inch screws, wood screws, in to help anchor that strip, that support strip, to the bottom of our pallet box. All right, and we'll try through trial and error to see which one of these works better. My little Swiss Army knife gadget there, my eyeglass repair screwdriver, or this little guy. And we'll see how this goes. My money's on this guy here. Nope. Maybe it's this one. That seems to be the way to go. All right. Oops. One more try at this, and I'm going to start by using my little trim hammer in hopes that I could drive it a little bit further in to get things started here. Let's see. Shoot. So make a mental note of that, adding to your materials list. If you're going to go with these smaller screws that I'm using here, a smaller screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, and also a hammer. not stripping. That's okay. You can see I have a little bit of a problem here. It twisted on me. I wasn't paying close enough attention. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew that second screw so I can shift it back, and hopefully this cooperates. Let's see. Toss that to the side, and we're gonna wow, the glue is already bound. There we go. Just going to get a wet paper towel and clean that up a little bit so it's not as messy as it is right now. Get it early enough, a little bit of soapy water will do the trick. If not, you might have that, just live with that residual glue around the outside, and that's okay. It just doesn't look quite as nice as it would otherwise. Okay. So the one screw in the middle. And we're going to get at least two more on the sides. All right. And that will catch if I go through that hole. So I'm going to reuse that. So if you have good woodworking here, there's some efficiencies that you could pick up, like pre-drilled holes and that sort of thing, which would save a ton of time. Probably make it a higher quality product in the end too. But my main goal here is to do this with nothing but hand tools and in a limited period of time, just to show that it can be done. for anybody that has a very limited budget and limited access to tools and other resources that we're using here. Oops. A little bit further. Yeah, I hit. Oh, looks like I missed a little bit. Son of a nutcracker. All right, I'm gonna back that out. Just a little too close to the edge by about a millimeter. And I don't want to catch my finger on that down the road. So what we'll do is we'll screw, and we're going to tap it in right about there. One of those things. This is the second one I've ever made, and definitely had a little bit of beginner's luck with the first one. And if you were to produce these over time, let's say a couple times a year, I could see how you'd get better at it over time. And I actually already have some ideas for improvements. Things like a panel carrier and a brush holder and a shelf and that sort of thing that we could add on. But for now, you know, this is what I have in mind: a removable pallet, and also a latch is another improvement that I have in mind. But for now, I want to keep it as lightweight as possible. I might put one more screw in. Just for good measure. And in this case, it'll be a little bit more toward, let's see. These are all close to the front, so I'm going to do it a little bit more toward the back, maybe toward the center, right around there. Alright, between these 4 screws and the glue, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. So again, our pallet will go in there. This is what we'll put our paints on and mix on. You take it out if we wish to. Close it up, pack it away, and we're good to go. All right, now I'm gonna flip it over. I think I'm good enough to go ahead and attach my camera tripod attachment gear here. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and use a 1/2-inch screw with a pretty big head here. It's a self-threading wood screw. Go ahead and put this on pretty tightly. Okay. And this is what our camera attachment for the tripod. This will be attached, this piece here will be attached to the tripod. And when I'm out in the field, I'll set up the tripod and just lower the pallet box down onto this, assuming it's open. And then I'll tighten it up, and it'll have a nice fixed grip on the pallet box, and it'll sit on top of the tripod. That's it. Some minor adjustments from time to time. I'll probably do that now. I'll adjust these little adjuster screws on my my tension hinges. I'm going to tighten them a little bit. And that'll make it a little bit more difficult to open, but it'll also allow for there to be some additional force. So if the wind blows really hard, it won't just fall over as easily. All right, let's go set it up. I'll show you how it'll work outside, and how to attach it to your tripod, and we'll be good to go. All right, so here I have my tripod with my little adapter plate on it. This tripod I got here. You can see you could easily clamp your canvas or your board that you're using. In my case lately, I've been using a drawing board with gessoed linen taped to it. I just find that's a nice way to have a painting that's easy to store once it's dry. Perhaps maybe I'll produce a video on that process to complement this video. But no matter what your substrate or surface is, you can just clamp it to the top portion of your pallet box and you're good to go. Also, when you are out in the field, it's nice to travel lightly. So this pallet box of this size with the two 11 by 16 cradled wood panels hinged together to make this pallet box, it fits nicely within medium size to large size drawstring bag. And this is how I'll transport it around. I'll typically have a bag like this thrown over my shoulder and a separate backpack with all of my paints and my gear. Simple as that. And it's nice and easy to kind of lug through the woods and make your way up hills with a nice lightweight rig like this. Sometimes even I can get, if in this case my drawstrings are a little knotted up, it's an older bag that's been used by a bunch of folks in my house for different things, but sometimes you could even fit the tripod when it's collapsed and folded up in the bag. Thanks for checking out my video. I'll put the complete materials list in the show notes here for you, so it's nice and easy for you to pick up the components of this if you're gonna set out to make your own. And I certainly hope you do. If you happen to make this, or if you have a similar solution, let me know in the comments. And from time to time, I hope to incorporate improvements to this setup. When I do, I'll share that with you as well. Once again, thanks for watching. Happy painting.